Alright, day 3 on the 93 Cadillac Allante. The customer said he does want me to address this long crank time problem, the check engine light, the theft light. So here we go. Right now it's cool, and I want to check the purge solenoid of the evap system. So right here we have the purge solenoid. So if this is stuck open, the intake manifold may fill with fumes from the charcoal canister. So easy check. Just take off the 2 hoses off the purge solenoid, which lives right here, and the vacuum source is up top, so we want to blow into the bottom one, which comes from the evap canister. So I'm blowing to it. It's sealed shut, so that is not an issue. And considering how hard this thing started, I believe there's a leaky fuel injector in the intake manifold. So that's my next step, is to unbolt this big intake manifold cover and turn the key on, pressurize the system, or manually energize the fuel pump and see if there's a leaky injector. I don't know if we'll be able to see the actual nozzles, but that's the next thing to check. Well, a quick visual inspection actually diagnosed 2 problems here: the long crank time and the high idle, the P030 idle speed complaint. What do we see first? This gasket is shot, so if it's not sealing all the way around, you'll have vacuum leaks and it won't be able to adjust the idle using the idle air control valve. Number 2 is there's raw gas on top of the fuel pressure regulator, so obviously the whole thing is filling with fumes and it's hard to start, and the fuel economy is probably not great. If you remember, this is our map sensor from it also can be problematic. So if we remove that, right there, so the fuel pressure regulator sits right here. It doesn't look too difficult to remove, and this whole gasket looks like the wiring harness is kind of attached to it. It goes all the way around to the injectors. Injectors are not the issue. We have a leaky fuel pressure regulator. You can see there's raw gas just spilling all over the place. So quick diagnosis. The question is, can we get parts? Gasket and fuel pressure regulator. Alright, doing a little research for parts. Fuel pressure regulator, there's the OEM part number. It's about an hour to replace. Pretty straightforward. And on Rock Auto, we can get one no problem, about 60 bucks. The intake manifold cover gasket, it's another story. There it is. Obviously it's discontinued. I've looked everywhere. eBay, Amazon, Rock Auto. No one has it, so hopefully the owner can locate one, maybe from a specialty Allante source down in Florida. So that's what we need to restore this Cadillac to factory spec. Intake manifold cover gasket, fuel pressure regulator, and that latch for the convertible top. Alright, let's finish up this 1993 Cadillac Allante. From Rock Auto, we have a brand new fuel pressure regulator. This is what it looks like. To install it, we need to remove this gasket because everything's integrated. The injectors looks like come up with the gasket. We need to get the gasket off to get to the fuel pressure regulator. Map sensor I took out. Here's the intake air temp sensor. Then there's this plug that goes through down there. I'm not sure how to unhook that just yet, but and then this gasket itself is obviously not available, unobtainium. So the owner said, I told him we could just try running a bead of ATV or RTV here, Permatex, whatever, good stuff, and we're gonna try that. That's the only option here. So it might get a little messy, but let's get to it. Try to get that fuel pressure regulator out. Well, it turns out this fuel pressure regulator isn't screwed in at all. It's just all O-rings. So The feed pipe is down here. There's an internal O-ring. Then the outlet is right here. There's an external O-ring, fits into this pipe, and that's it. So it just kind of squeezes out of here. Looks identical to the new one. Let's pop this one in. All the O-rings are there. So the whole fuel rail is integrated into this gasket too. This is insane. Insane. So I guess we need to pop it onto this hose first. Nice and easy. There we go. Then this whole thing goes down. It goes onto there. Just kind of sits on there. Okay. Now I want to make sure that the gasket surface is okay on the bottom side, because it also has that rubber seal, and it looks to be better on the bottom side, but I'm going to check and then we're going to RTV the top. Alright, so I got this gasket injector assembly flipped over. Got the wire out here. So what does it look like? Well, it looks a little better than the other side, but we have gaps. That's going to cause vacuum leaks, obviously. So RTV is the only option here. So we're just going to run a bead, flip this thing over, pop it down, install the fuel pressure regulator, obviously, and then run a bead up top. And hopefully that'll seal it up. I mean, it's unfortunate, but you can't get this piece. Alright, so I got the gaps filled in here with a bead of RTV, just using Permatex Ultra Gray gasket maker. So there, right here. Let me flip this over, install the fuel pressure regulator, and then we'll do the same thing on top. Bolt everything down, let it sit for a couple hours, and then fire this thing up. Alright, here we go. So new fuel pressure regulator is installed, everything's installed. I gooped up the top missing gasket piece. Let's put the cover back on, torque this thing down. Alright, so manifold cover is torqued down. This throttle body looks disgusting. Let's clean it out with some brake clean. And then button everything up. Just let the gasket maker solidify a little bit. This thing should run like a top. Alright, got the throttle body bore clean as a whistle. Looks good. Let's pop in the air pipe. Let this thing sit. Alright, the Cadillac's been sitting here for a few hours. I think the sealant on that intake manifold cover is good to go. New fuel pressure regulator. I primed the fuel pump. Let's see if it fires up. Fires right up. Alright, let's take it for a spin and then let it sit outside for hot soak for 20 minutes, see how it starts up. Alright, let's take this thing for a spin, get it nice and hot. Make sure our cruise control still works. Runs good. There's the cruise indicator. Cruise control works great. AC's blowing cold. I think this car's pretty happy. So the last piece of the puzzle is the convertible top pull down motor or switch assembly. The owner is getting one from Allante source down in Florida. So once we get that, we'll pop that in, and this thing should be ready to deliver back to the customer. Alright, we're fully warmed up, no check engine lights. The idle is just under 1,000. I think it should be a little lower, about 900. So let's shut it off. Did I see that service engine soon light blink right before I shut it off? Nice flare up. Okay, drops down. It's kind of wandering a little bit. We don't care about car may not restart. Just hit the reset button, clear that out. Let's let it idle here for a little bit. See what the idle stabilizes at. Maybe you'll have to relearn. It's down to about 800. Uh-oh, service engine soon is back. Let's read the code. Go into diagnostic mode. P030 is still there. How about that? So we fixed the gasket and we cleaned the throttle bodies. Those two things, you know, one sealed the vacuum leaks, but the other one might have caused a little bit more vacuum leaks. But you can see the idle's back down to 700. So it might have, I think it might have had to relearn. So that looks normal. So PCM, let's go into PCM. We don't want data, we want inputs, we want outputs, we want clear codes, yes. Code's clear. So shut it down. Let's restart it. Let's see if it'll drop right down. Or if the check engine light will come back on. We don't care about that. Because it has the ability to drop the idle down. There it goes. It's closing that IAC. I wish there was a data PID for that. I can't find it for the idle air control valve steps. See, it's, oh, there it is again. I'm just going to let it idle at this speed for 5 minutes to see if it'll relearn. Alright, so after another 5 miles, we're in drive. We're about 700 RPM. Put it back in park. Let's see if it'll fuss about not being able to drop the idle speed. We're at about 800 RPM. We'll turn the air conditioning off. We'll turn the lights off. Will it relearn, or was it going to throw the check engine light? Ah, speak of the devil. Service engine soon. Dang. Take another look at the throttle body, see if there's a vacuum leak. This is a MAP engine, so the only thing that could cause an elevated idle is too much air. That's it. Alright, the Caddy's been sitting here for about half an hour. Let's see how it cranks up. Should be absolutely no delay if the fuel pressure regulator is holding. Fires right up. No issues. So now I still want to deal with this slightly elevated idle speed. That's setting the P030 trouble code. It's about 1000 RPM right now. Alright, so I got the air box off. So we can see what's happening to the throttle body. Now the idle air control valve, it's actually not a bypass valve, it's just this plunger that pushes on the throttle plate. So as you can see now, there's quite a significant gap, and this thing is extended pretty far. So let me start it up and we'll see what it does on a flare-up. Just want to focus in right on that shaft, and we'll see what the throttle body is doing at the same time. Here we go. Okay, there we go. It's retracting a little bit. Let's let it stabilize here. You keep your bidirectional command from the you would think it should close right now. You can see how far it can move, but it's not moving. Sure enough, check engine lights on. So it looks like a bad idle air control motor. Let's play around with the diagnostics here. We've got the manual, so I think we can command this motor in and out. So when I shut the key off, this thing's definitely trying to do something. So it's stuck there. Okay. Let me fire it up. It's going to retract. It doesn't want to retract. And when I shut the key off, see, I think it's trying to do its thing, but it's worn out. It's clicking. That's not normal. This thing's definitely worn out. Maybe the gear's in there, the plunger, whatever. We could, again, let's try to do the bidirectional command, try to retract it, maybe tap on it, help it out. It needs a new one of these things. Where are you going to find one? Alright, so how do we control this idle speed control motor? So in PCM outputs, there it is, idle speed control motor P007, but that you can't do it with the engine running. So it says here, override enable criteria. If you're trying to test the device under the wrong conditions or the device is not available, see Service Manual Section 6EA for override enable criteria. So here, PCM override, we can do PS03, ISC motor, retract and extend. I think that's what we want to do, just with the key off, or key on, engine off, and see if this thing moves back and forth. Alright, so I went through the menu. In PCM override, we have ISC motor PS03, so we're going to hit high. No, low. Okay, I can hear it moving. It's trying to move. The pintle is not extending. That's the sound I was hearing before. Alright, let's try cooler. Let's retract. So it stopped making that clicky sound. It's making a different clicky sound. So my question is this an idle speed control motor problem or a signal problem, meaning the drivers and the PCM? I think we have to scope this thing because this piece might be unobtainium and or really expensive. We want to make sure that it's being controlled properly before calling this unit. So in this very helpful repair manual, looking up the trouble code, here's a schematic for the idle speed control motor. So 2 wires control the motor, and then there's a contact switch for the other 2 wires. Basically, when your throttle is closed, the switch PCM sees that throttle position switch input, that it's closed, and then the ISC motor adjusts accordingly. So we just need to scope 2 wires. You can see this toggles between battery positive and ground. So the wires, either wire can be either battery positive or ground. So you should see pulses. So we're just doing 2 channels. Let's hook up the Pico, turn the key on, and see if the drivers are good. I assume they are because this thing is clicking. That means there's something going on with those 2 wires. So most likely it's just a worn out ISC motor. Alright, here we go. 2 channels. It's 0 volts. That's 12 volts. Key on. We have some pulses. Is he going to try to retract it? Now let's shut it off. See, they flipped. And back to 0. Okay, let's look at the waveform. Alright, so in the very beginning, the idle air control motor, you see right here, was pulsing. So the red was at 1.4 volts and the blue was at about 8 volts, and there's a bias voltage at about 3.5. Okay, and here they flip, so the computer can definitely go back and forth. Both channels can go up to about 10 volts. There's the bias down to about 1 volt. So that should be enough to spin this motor one way or another, but it's stuck. It's not moving whatsoever. So we know the computer drivers are good. That proves that. We need a new idle speed control motor. Now the question is, can we get one? Well, I'll talk to the customer, see if we can find one. So we need 2 parts at the moment: idle speed control motor and the pull down motor for the convertible top. Alright, good news. These things are available. There are a couple on eBay. $160, $120. It says good condition, new other. Hey, look, it's in Pennsylvania, so that should be pretty quick shipping. Apparently they use these things from 1990 to 1995 on other models as well, so it's not an unobtainium part like some. Yeah, let me just find the best deal here, and we'll order one up.